all leaders. The question isn't whether we're a leader or not. The question is, are we a good leader or not?
Joshua Denne,
elite-level network marketer and an author.
A lot of the rough upbringing was my own doing. I think for a lot of people, maybe we make choices. We don't see the future playing out. I failed. I failed miserably. And I'm like, look, I'm either going to make it or I'm going to die trying. I don't want somebody who needs me. I need someone who's going to the mountaintop with or without me, but's willing to take me with them.
So what drew you to starting in network marketing in the first place?
Yeah, I wanted to make money, but I was like, oh man, what got me was, hey, we're going to change the environment. We're going to make things better. I thought, if I just recruit these people, and then they recruit the people, and then they recruit the people, I'm going to build this thing, and then I'm going to get rich. As men. We need our tribe. We need other men focused in the same direction we're going. It's interesting to me how many people have an opinion on something they've never read, they've never studied. But when I studied it, I found my life there. I found truth.
Well, my question is, what has network marketing taught you?
It taught me self-reliance. So like really at the end of the day, I'm gonna have to do the work. No one's gonna do it for me. There's only two things I have control over in this whole life. One, my attitude. And two, I can choose my behavior.
Josh, what would you say is like your best advice?
Be more valuable than you are today. Add more value than you subtract, and you'll get people to want to help you.
Kicking Ass, Taking Names podcast, and today we are here with Joshua Denne. Joshua, thank you so much for being here today.
Glad to be here, Shaq.
So Josh, it's cool because I actually saw Josh first on stage. So if you guys remember the John Malott interview, Josh was also part of Secret. We were both in the same skincare MLM. Man, you guys, MLM guys, it's like the most connected people I've ever run into, you know? Like,
well, I mean, network, you think about network marketing, the nature of it is you're networking through social, social groups. So a lot of people have a misunderstanding, I think, of the space. They think, oh, multi-level market's a pyramid company. They don't understand the nature of how to become successful in that particular field, but it's the same in any business, right? You got to learn skills, right? Skills
Right.
of selling, skills of recruiting, skills of leadership, how to build a team, but how to lead that team, and then how to instill leadership in others. So the network marketing profession gives the average person who maybe doesn't have a bunch of capital to go into a traditional business, or didn't get the education going through a college or an Ivy League school and get that degree and then work for a big company where they can learn that and then venture off on their own. It gives someone that didn't have that experience or for whatever reason didn't make the right choices early on, like myself. I made a lot of mistakes when I was in school.
you've got a story. It's crazy because you were raised by a single mother. You said that you were homeless 3 times. And that you actually, you say getting in trouble. I don't know the specifics, but I know that you said that you did have a rough upbringing. And it's really interesting because you're one of the few people that's actually spent, for what I've seen so far, has spent a majority of your life in network marketing. Like the majority of your career, not limiting you to, but the way you got started, the way you kind of moved up in the world. And what really platformed you to success is, multi-level marketing, which a lot of people have a huge connotation of, and, we'll go into that. But can you just tell the audience a little bit about your story, how you were brought up, and how that transitioned you into, like, how'd you end up in that industry?
Sure. A lot of the rough upbringing was my own doing. I think for a lot of people, maybe we make choices when we're younger that we don't see the future playing out, right? We don't think it all the way through. And, my mom did the best she could. The guy who donated my genetic material decided to leave when I was 5, never came back. She remarried, and the guy she remarried did the best he could with what he had, but was not a really good environment. It wasn't really a loving environment. So I decided to leave at 14, and I went through, I think what a lot of young people do, I wanted to gravitate towards the stronger males, and where I grew up, which was, it was lower middle class. Most of the people that were the stronger males were not going the right direction, we'll say. So I kind of went there, and I ended up in the state penitentiary system, and I'm glad I did, because it saved me in many ways. I didn't graduate high school. I ended up learning to, I could read, but I really started reading when I was inside. I got my California proficiency exam, or I took that, ended up doing the GED. Because before that, I kind of thought I was stupid. I'm like, oh, you're dumb, you messed up. And then when I took those tests, I realized I wasn't that dumb. And, I could actually read and comprehend things. So I passed at a pretty high rate. And I could see a very clear difference between people that were going in a positive direction and people were going in a negative direction. And in that environment, it's like a society condensed, right? It's the same stuff happens out here that happens there. It just happens much faster. And so for me, I got a good reality check, 1. 2, I met people that were both examples of what not to do and examples of what to do. So I found some really amazing humans inside prison. There's also some not so amazing humans, but that's the same out here. So one thing I decided was that I was going to live my life, or at least aim towards the ideal, aim towards the better way to live. And I read most every spiritual book I could get my hands on, and I found faith in Jesus Christ and in the gospel. That's where I found my life when I really read the book. And I often tell people, look, don't read the book for the religious aspect of it. Just read it to read it so someone else can't lead you astray. You may reject it, and that's okay. But don't be like so many other people and just immediately say, oh, it's been changed, it's been this, it's been that, and parrot some other bullshit that you heard from some other guy.
Yeah.
Read it for your own understanding and then make your decisions. Then feel how you want. But it's interesting to me how many people have an opinion on something they've never read. They've never studied. But when I studied it, I found my life there. I found truth. And not from some blind religious fever or some escapism kind of idea. I genuinely found a true relationship with my Creator and faith in Christ. And so that aimed me towards, I think, a positive direction in my life. And when I came home, that was kind of where I was aiming. And I ended up working in this machine shop. It's a long story. I won't bore you with the details, but I got introduced to, or reintroduced, I should say, to network marketing. And I'll stop after this, but here's what it gave me. It gave me access to 2 very important things I think that every young man or every person, period, needs, which is personal growth, like a pathway towards personal development, which is developing yourself into a better version of you. And people say, well, that's like cultish stuff, whatever. Like, look, be better, learn to be better. And seminars, audiobooks, books. I didn't know these things existed, and I got introduced to books like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, or The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason, and How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and I could go on, but I got introduced to that. And the second thing that I got access to in the network marketing profession was mentorship. People that were willing to teach me what to do because they were incentivized to do it from the company. And I didn't have to pay them. And I know today, at least in the last decade, that one of the biggest growing industries is personal coaching. And you pay people to teach you what to do. And in many cases, these people haven't really done anything other than teach other people. And I'm not going to knock it, because you know what? Sometimes there's people that can help see things on the path that you can't see. So that could be good. However, to have somebody that is paid by the company who is genuinely interested in helping you win because the compensation dictates that, meaning the incentive program, if they help you win, they win. If they help you make money, then they make money. It's not the other way around. It's not, hey, go make them money. No, they're incentivized to teach you what to do. And I got access to people who'd been extraordinarily successful that were willing to show me how to do that.
What I've studied is that you started in network marketing initially, I think in Kangen water when you were 17?
Equinox.
Okay.
Yeah, 17, yeah.
17 in water.
Water filtration.
So what drew you to starting in network marketing in the first place, though? Like, how do you get
I would
there
say,
at 17?
One, I was looking for a job. So back then they would put ads in, like the want papers or whatever. Something that said no experience necessary. Make X amount a month or whatever. And it wasn't something crazy. It was like $5,000 a month. And at that time, $5,000 was like astronaut money. If I could just make $5,000, holy crap, and no experience necessary. I'm like, all right, well, cool, because I'm a high school dropout, or, at that point, I didn't graduate. I'm 17 years old. And I'm like, let me figure this out. And I showed up at what I thought was a job interview. And it was like a group interview. There was 150 people there. and it was a presentation room.
Yeah.
And the guy who did the presentation was really good. Like, he was compelling, and he said a lot of important stuff that we all know is true today. But back then, 1995, no one thought bottled water was a thing. Filtered water, drink out of the garden hose. What are you talking about? Fluoride.
Wait, what year was this?
This is 1995.
And it was still a big phenomenon to have.
No, bottled water wasn't anywhere. No one really had it. I mean, it was like rare to see bottled water. Water filtration wasn't normal. But it made sense. So, like, look, here's what's happening. Here's the pollution. Here's what's going on. Here's the facts. Here's the statistics. And it was logical. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. It was a crusade for me. So I'm attracted to the missions. I wanted to make money, but I was like, oh man, what got me was, hey, we're going to change the environment. We're going to make things better. People need this. Look, people are being fed a bunch of bullshit. Here's what the corporations are doing. These corporations that are less than ethical, and I don't want to knock corporations in general, because I think that's wrong. I like capitalism. I am a capitalist. I think there's a difference between capitalist and a cronyism. Capitalism and cronyism are two different things. Capitalism, to me, is you and I have the right to bring a product or service to the marketplace in exchange for profit. Now, there's people who will do that at any expense, to say, hey, screw the environment, screw people. I don't care if it hurts people. I'm going to do it anyway because I want the profit. That's wrong. I think most people would agree. I don't think anyone would disagree that that's wrong, and that person's not ethical. But it can be done in a great way as well, where it's like, look, let's make sure that what we're doing is ethical. Let's make sure what we're doing is no one loses. It can be a win-win. It's not a zero-sum game. And we can see that in the marketplace of some of the companies that really do well by helping people. So that's what attracted me. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can help people get better water, cleaner air, better vitamins and nutrition, and help them live a better quality of life in exchange for, them getting involved and participating. So that's what attracted me. That's what got me on that path. And, Shaq, I made no money in that first company, but it got me introduced to the personal growth. It got me introduced to showing up at seminars and hearing things I didn't know was real. And I saw other people. I saw examples of people that were like me that went on and achieved tremendous success.
So would you say that was one of the biggest things that propelled you to want to even just be more successful? Because you said you were in the juvenile system before, right? And this is juveniles when you were before 17?
No.
So, or you were in...
I got reintroduced to network marketing in prepaid legal when I came home. Okay. So this was before I got locked up. What happened was, I got started, I got excited, I got clean off drugs. Because when I got introduced to this environment, I was fired up. I'm like, man, this is my way out.
Yeah.
This is my way to actually live a quality of life. And I just, I failed. I failed miserably. And at that point, as I was failing, I just got into a depression and ended up backsliding into, drugs, and that took me off the deep end.
I think that's a really important point to point out, though, because even John said the same, like, it's such a pivotal moment, right? Then after that, you said, okay, but you saw the possibility.
Right. That was the thing. It opened my eyes. Because, Shaq, before that, I didn't see any examples. My mom did the best she could. She worked her ass off. I never saw her, though. I didn't know what she was doing. She would leave the house before I got up many times, and she would come home after I went to sleep. So I didn't see my mom, and I love her with all my heart, but she just wasn't there.
Yeah. In
her mind, she had to go work to produce, income for the family, and she ultimately ended up becoming very successful. That wasn't my experience when I was at the home, right? It was nothing then. Right. And so there was our neighbors weren't successful. There was no money, right? I didn't see it.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Huntington Beach. It was like Westminster, Huntington Beach. It was like right by Bolsa. And if you know the area, it's Bolsa and Golden West.
Okay.
So it was like right there in that little area. And it wasn't a bad neighborhood. It wasn't like a ghetto neighborhood.
Yeah.
It just wasn't like a wealthy neighborhood. It wasn't, it was like lower middle class,
But you could see the examples in the city next door.
If you went to like Newport Coast, you went to Newport, you went to Irvine, but I didn't go there.
A lot of Huntington also was developed, I feel like, a little bit later, right? Wasn't that all like kind of...
downtown Huntington, but I didn't go there either. Like I went to Stacy Junior High, and so, white was a minority. white people. It was mainly Hispanic, mainly Asian. And, it's like a lot of the Asians, the Vietnamese, their parents had just come from Vietnam. The war had kind of, had already been through there. So a lot of the kids, their parents worked their butts off. And so it's like there was discrimination. So you could feel that in the area. The neighborhood just wasn't, again, it wasn't wealthy. It wasn't even, it's kind of like they're just struggling, like regular working class people.
So what happens after you get into network marketing? You're in the second company. I think this is where you say you started taking off, right?
So when I got home and I'm working in this machine shop, cleaning floors, I got reintroduced to network marketing with a company called Prepaid Legal Services. It's still in business today. It's now called Legal Shield. That changed things for me drastically because now I saw another way forward. It's a long story of how I got to that place, but I met a guy named Ben Kane, and he became my mentor. He became someone who, he was 50, I think, 2 at the time I met him. I'm 22. He's 30 years older than me. It took me a while. It took me about a year to get his attention. But once I did, he poured a lot into me. He taught me so much. Not just about the business. That was simple. He taught me about life. He kind of became like a father to me, and made a lot of introductions to some incredible people. I mean, guys like Jeff Olson, if you know who he is, Eric Worre, Frank Coin.
Did you ever learn from Jim?
Yeah, Jim Rohn. I met Jim Rohn. I got to spend time with Jim. I had lunch with Jim. I met one of Jim's mentor, a guy named Bill Bailey. So spent time with him. William E. Bailey.
This guy must have been really old then, right?
Oh, he was old, yeah. He was old. He had a forest growing out of his ears.
Did you ever meet Mark Yarnell?
No, I didn't meet Mark.
Do you know who he is?
I know who he is. Yeah, I read his book,
Your First Year in Network Marketing. I heard he wrote the book. People are like, he wrote the book, but I don't know. I know that my friend's, he's rest in peace to him, but I know my friend's father was in a group in, what's it called? Kivana.
Kivana?
Yeah, back in the day. And then Mark was a master distributor for that.
Yeah, Mark did well. I'd never met him, but
he was apparently in Jim Rohn's downline, I think, or something like that.
Jim
impacted a lot of people.
Jim was in Best Line Products, from what I remember.
Yeah, Jim impacted a lot of people, though. I don't know how
Jim's extraordinary. He just had a great way of delivering, very simple philosophies in a way that made sense.
But he also was he broke past network marketing. He became like a motivational speaker. He was really. I think he would never classify himself in that way. Probably not.
I think he had, he'd really been there, done that, and learned some philosophies that revolutionized his life and enjoyed teaching it.
Yeah.
And so many people loved hearing what he had to say.
He just really delivered it so well.
If you haven't listened to the audio, Cultivating an Unshakable Character,
yeah.
I encourage you to go get that because
my dad used to listen to that when he was driving in that area, actually in your area, in LA, because he grew up there from the time he's an immigrant, but he moved to LA when he was like 15.
Yeah,
and then he used to work. When I was born, and I don't know what time, he's like 27 or something, and he used to drive, and like he told me he had to drive like across the country and this and that, and I remember him talking about all of these Jim Rohn or Tom Hopkins,
right?
Or the guys, because he used to teach other people.
Yeah.
Zig Ziglar. He used to say Zig Ziglar all the time.
Dennis Waitley, the old school Road Warriors.
He made me read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was 7.
Right.
So that's the first book I ever read, pretty much almost like that, because I barely learned how to read. And he's like, "Here, read this book." My dad was one of those guys. Like,
good. The
second you're going to be reading, you're going to do this. Like, you're going to do this. So I had a lot of resistance against that. Like, I love to break rules. I was like, oh, you're telling me to do this? I'm going to do the opposite, you know? So a lot of times, like, study hard. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to study. Like, I'll do it without studying. And, it bites you in the ass. And then later on in life, you figure out your way.
Right. You're like, Dad was smart, damn it.
Yeah. I mean, I did always study. I just studied more of, like, personal. Right. What was I interested in? I studied that. And that's just so interesting because, like, you're in the network marketing profession and how you executed in this profession. It's just I'm really curious about how that was the main, like, it's almost like, what was your reference point outside of that? You had like a few jobs, a few years.
I mean, not really. Look, I worked at a dental lab for a few months. I worked at a pet store for a few months. I worked at LA Fitness doing club sales for a few months.
I did that
There
too.
was nothing I really did long term until I got into network marketing. I worked at a machine shop for about a year, and those are my jobs.
Yeah.
And I knew I'm not a job guy. You know, and
Yeah,
some
it's
people
like
are. God bless them. I'm just not that guy.
But the timeline in which you worked was very short comparatively now to the rest of your life. So you worked for a small amount of time, and you were like, "I'm going." You got
I've been
frustrated,
unemployed since
or
22.
was that?
I've been unemployed since 22.
So that's super young. So you, at a young age, you were like, "I'm committed to network marketing," or how do you?
So the way I'm like, look, I'm either going to make it or I'm going to die trying. And I think that's almost the attitude you have to be successful in anything. I'm like, the proverbial burning the ships. And I meant it. Like, I really did. That's why I'm willing. Here's, I think, the thing that if I could impart anything on anyone listening, because everyone shows the fancy stuff. And I get that. And I like nice stuff, obviously, but I don't need it. You know, it doesn't make me. I've had nothing and I've had things. I'd rather have things than nothing, but it doesn't make me happy one way or the other. I'm not attached to it. So I'm often asked, well, how do you go from having a lot to nothing and then back again? Because I'm not attached to the stuff. I'm willing to walk away from it. Now, it gets a little harder as you get older. I'll tell you, because as you get older, especially when you have kids and you have lots of responsibilities, it's harder to let those things go. But those are also illusions that we hold on to. Well, I can't because of this. Look, man, the only way I know how to succeed for real is surrender, full surrender. Just go, I don't need any of this shit. Excuse my language. I don't need it. I don't need, you know what I need is my health. I need to maintain my character. I need to maintain my integrity. I can't risk losing my word. I can't risk those things. Now, I'll say the one bill, if you're going to keep, if you're going through a tough times, is keep your phone bill.
Yeah.
Because you need to communicate. But even that, it's like at the end of the day, be willing to walk away from it all the materialistic things you think you need. Now, if you live in America, where we're recording this, it's almost impossible to fail in a big way because the country won't let you. Right? A lot of Europe's like that too. There's places in the world where if you don't work, you die. Like you don't eat, and then you have problems. In America, like, this is the best place. If you're gonna be homeless, if you're gonna have a challenge, this is the best place to have it. I can say this without any fear of contradiction, that if you're willing to walk away from everything for real and set your path on the goal that you truly want, you can get there. But you can't get there by holding on to it. I want you to visualize something. Imagine grabbing one side of the wall, right? And there's a handle. Imagine there's a handle and it's glued to the wall and you're gripping it. But you need to get to the other wall, and that other wall represents your goals, what you really want. How the hell are you going to get there if you don't let go of this? And that's the visual I have in my mind. It's like, you got to be willing to let go. And is it scary? Hell yeah, it's scary, man. It's scary because we have these things and we're like, and especially if you've made a personality around these things. Like when you're younger as a guy, it's about your car, it's about your place, it's about these things or this persona that you think you have, or God, let that all go. None of that matters. I can tell you what does matter. Your word. Your word matters. Your word amongst other men. Can men trust you? Can women trust you? Are you a protector? Are you a provider? Are you honorable? See, that stuff's free. And that's what's really valuable.
Yeah. How have you seen like a difference, or how's your view changed of the network marketing profession since you started? I mean, do you see a difference in the industry today? Do you still think it's a great, are you still an advocate for it? Do you see now that the world has changed? Are there different, opinions you have about it now? Or
it's definitely different than when I was coming up, for sure. I think that there's still a lot of utility in the space. And I think there'll be more utility in the future. It's just shifting. It's going through like a renaissance of sorts.
Yeah.
It's trying to figure out how to combine the best of what it is with the new technology that's available today. Yeah. And so let me back up by saying, what is the best of network marketing? Because a lot of people don't understand that. It's culture, it's community, it's building a family, there's a Hungarian proverb. I think it's Hungarian. At least that's what I was told. So you may want to search that. But it was, not all members of the same family reside under the same roof. Meaning that your family members don't have to be blood. They have to be men that are focused. And I speak as a man, right? As men, we need men. We need our tribe. We need other men focused in the same direction we're going, right? Like-minded, equally yoked, so to speak. We need that. So that can be our family. So what network marketing provides is that, which is great. Mentorship and ability for us to learn and to teach. Because for you to really master anything, you got to be willing, you got to teach it. That's why in martial arts, right, that grand master can be beat by the students. But that's how they become the grand master, because they master it, then they teach it so well that the next person can supersede them.
Yeah.
And a lot of men are I think, afraid of that. They're afraid of other people passing them. And I say, do that. If you're that good, you should have your mark as a leader, at least your value as a leader is how well you're able to help somebody else surpass you in your ability. I think there's utility in that. I think that's necessary for us to advance as a society. So network marketing gives you that ability to do that. Now, digitally, you can reach a lot more people a lot faster, and you can be a personality like what television used to be for the boomers and for Gen Xers like me. Like, we used to see television personalities, but they were untouchable, right? You didn't know who they really were, and maybe they were shitbags, and a lot of them, as we've discovered, they were just portraying a persona. See, in network marketing, you can't do that and be successful over the long haul, because at some point you're interacting with people and they're going to see you.
Yeah.
Right. And we decide, let me give you an example. Have you ever met someone that you thought was awesome? Then the more you got to know them, the more you realized they're not so awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't do what they say.
Yeah.
And it's kind of disheartening. It's like, there was an old saying I heard, like, never meet your heroes. You're just going to get disappointed. But that's when we put men on a pedestal.
And that's also when I think people are not human in your mind. Like, everybody's a human. Right. Like, the same way that we say that these people are could be so untouchable. Now, there's probably are people who will act that way and act arrogant. I also think there's people who may just be acting out of survival. And what are they like? They have, at some point, it's your responsibility though to get out of that and to become someone of purpose. Because otherwise, what would someone who has gone to prison or jail be forever on? They would be stuck at, I'm that person. But you can't identify with I'm that person. It's psycho-cybernetics. It's, I can grow and change. It's, I don't need, some people are like, I need plastic surgery to feel better about myself. But some people, I will myself to be better.
Right.
So I just think that so much of like network marketing.
Your past doesn't equal your future, right? So
yeah,
we're all on a journey. It's like, if we get stuck in the one pattern that we did before, you can stay there for a long time, but that's not you. This is my belief, right? So I don't project this on anyone else. I believe these are just avatars, these meat suits we get to operate in while we're here on this
meat suits.
In this, right? So,
well, your meat suit's pretty bulked up.
Well, I work on it because it's all I got while I'm here, and I can't grow taller, so I can just grow wider.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're here for an experience. We're here for an experience, and I believe that experience should be providing as much value as we can while we're here to as many people as we can, to be the best version of you can be, to be an example. And, hopefully, if you're up for it, have a family, and be there. Be there as a father if you're a man. Be there as a mother if you're a woman, and add value to society.
This is a really, actually, I don't think I asked this question, because when I first interviewed John, I was so early in like the podcast. I'm like, I got to stick to a script. I don't know if I can freely ask my own question. But my question is, what has network marketing taught you? Like, what skills, what practical life skills? Because I know you could probably go on forever, but that's precisely why I want you to have to choose what you want to, because
I can name them easily. I mean, one, it taught me self-reliance. So, like, really at the end of the day, I'm gonna have to do the work. No one's gonna do it for me. I got to do it. I can't blame anybody either. If it's to be, it's up to me. So that's one of the first things it really taught me. If it's to be, it's up to me. And it's the person who sponsored me is not going to make me successful. The people that I sponsor aren't going to make me successful. I'm going to make me successful because I'm going to do the thing I have to do until the job gets done. And so when you accept that, whatever profession that you're pursuing, whatever passion that's driving you, realize, no one's coming to save you. No one's coming to do it for you. And you wouldn't want that anyway. You don't want the person to do your homework for you. You want to be the person who can do it. The only way to be that person is to do it. So again, if it's to be, it's up to me. That's number one. Number two, in that, right, you will attract other people. Because in the beginning of my career, Shaq, I thought, right, in my mind, if I just recruit these people, and then they recruit the people, and then they recruit the people, I'm going to build this thing, and then I'm going to get rich. Okay, so that's me depending on these other people. And what I realized is people can feel that. They can smell it. They say they can smell the commission on your breath. It's like you're looking at them like they're a lamb chop and you're going to take them to dinner. Like it's like, I'm not the meal, man. Like, I don't want somebody who needs me. I need someone who's going to the mountaintop with or without me, but's willing to take me with them. And if I stay, then I stay, but they're still going. See, if you're that man that's going no matter what, you're going to attract other people because they're going to feel that energy from you. They're going to go, oh, this guy's going. Yeah, I want to go too. See, we want that, especially as men. Like, we need that brotherhood. Oh, it's like when you do a challenge. You want to do a challenge with a workout partner, with a friend. Why? Because it makes it easier to do it because there's accountability. It's like a lot of times we'll do things for other people that we won't do for ourselves. Like, we'll let ourselves down a lot, which seems counterintuitive, but we won't let our friend down. At least if you're a decent human and you give your word, you're less likely to do that. So it taught me that. Like, look, if it's to be, it's up to me. And if I'm doing that, I'm going to attract other people. Now, when you attract other people, it's important to understand that, okay, I'm a leader. And look, you're a leader. We're all leaders. The question isn't whether we're a leader or not. The question is, are we a good leader or not? So then it's like, all right, I got to learn leadership. What does leadership look like? How do I lead? Leadership isn't being a boss. Leadership isn't telling people what to do. Leadership, in my opinion, is influence. And how I gain influence is by doing the thing that I'm asking other people to do and doing it so well it inspires those people to do it and to excel at it. Think about it. At the gym, right? We go work out together. If I'm just telling you what to do the whole time, if it's like, that's one thing. Now, if you have respect for me and there's a respect there and you're like, oh, he's done it. Like, sometimes we can go, we're wrestlers and Dan Gable's teaching us. Well, we know Dan Gable did the thing. It's like, whatever he says, we're going to do. But if we don't know him, and that's what happens a lot of times. We meet these people, they don't know us yet. Yeah. Like David Goggins says, you don't know me, son. Like, they don't know you. Show them. Not like in a braggadocious way, or not like just you go blaze that trail and watch what happens. They said, set yourself on fire and people will come for miles to watch you burn, which I've found to be true. It's like, I'm going to set myself on fire. I mean, I'm committed. I'm all in. I'm going. And that people are going to be attracted to that energy and move with you.
As far as you have 2 kids, right?
3. Well, 4, really. I got a stepkid, but I claim her.
Okay, so
she's mine.
So how many daughters, how many sons?
3 daughters, 1 son.
Okay. Well, let's start with, obviously your kids. I hope, love them all equally or whatever you choose. But my question is, like, what do you want to teach? What would you tell them? Because a lot of your upbringing and how you were raised also in this, you're talking about this tribe, this environment. What are the things that you want to parlay, let's say, specifically to give an example to your son? What do you want to tell him? Because that's...
What do I want to tell him?
What do you want to teach him that you have learned specifically? Like, obviously, there's a different age today, right? There's a different time than the past. Future's always different than the past. What is it that
is it though?
I think so. I think it repeats itself, but I don't think people are the same. I think people are changing to a degrry. I think
in what way though?
I think with social, like with the media, with the technology, and the way that our brains are just. I mean, people are just growing up in a whole different way, and part of our audience is like, okay, 18 to 25. Okay, it's like you got a guy 18 to 25 listening to this, he's hearing it from you, but now let's make it relevant to him.
Yeah, I'd say, look, it's easy to dismiss the older generation. We all do it. I did it. Growing up, I thought my parents and their parents were stupid. As I get older, I realize they weren't. I don't think things change in the sense that we're human beings. We have the same wants and desires, most of us, right? We want to be valuable. We want to bring value to those around us. We want to, be respected. We want to provide a quality life for those that we love. We want to help when needed. Right? We're kind of the same in that way. Yeah, the technology's changed. Yeah, maybe the attention span's changed. And yeah, it's easy to think, well, you don't know what I'm going through. Well, I would challenge that. I think, a lot of people do know what you're going through, and it's okay to go through what you're going through, and it's okay to feel that way. But don't dismiss the wisdom of your ancestors. Don't dismiss the wisdom of your parents, of your grandparents. I mean, look, societies have thrived for tens of thousands of years, or at least thousands of years that we know of, because families stuck together and were able to pass that wisdom on to the next generations. If we dismiss that, I think we miss out. And one of the things I think is a challenge, and when you say we're changing, I'll agree with this. Yeah, we're changing in the sense that families don't stick together the way they should. It's like we kind of separate ourselves, especially in the American society or the European society. But wealthy families don't do that. Look at some of the wealthiest families on earth. They are together. I take a lot of trips to the Middle East, as you know, and I go to Dubai, and the families there, they live in like the powerful families. They're like in a whole track, and there's grandpa's house, and there's dad's house, and there's kid's house, and they live together. Because power's in the family, power's in the tribe. When you separate yourself and you dismiss your elders, it's disrespectful to you, because one day, if you're going to have a family, and I think it's our duty to, but think what you want, then they're just going to do it to you. Like, do you want to be disrespected by your children, by your children's children? Do you want to be dismissed as like, oh, you're a relic, you don't know shit? When really, that's what I tell my son. I'm going to get back to the question. I went off on a tangent there, but you asked me what I tell my son. I said, look, I'm an older version of you. You have me. I got 30 years on you, man. Like, I'm you 30 years from now. I can help you avoid some of the pitfalls. Look, you're going to do what you're going to do, and I know that. But I love you, son. And I want you to know, look, my job as a man and my job as your father is to help you get from where you are to where you want to be without going through some of the same pains. You're going to go through struggle. You're going to have pain, and that's part of it. But let me help navigate some of the stuff that is unnecessary. Let me show you a better path. You're going to go down what you're going to go down. And not by my words alone, but by my actions. I got to act out what I want them to be now, and I got to do it forward, which is one of the reasons I quit drinking. And I'm not going to throw shade at alcohol. Look, I had a lot of fun times drinking. I had a whole shrine built to it in my house called a bar, right? With the bottles that I thought were awesome. And I threw it all away. It's like, what am I worshiping here? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be that guy. And I can say, for those of you like, well, you like a good drink. God bless you, man. Look, different strokes for different folks. For me, I made a lot of stupid mistakes. Now, when I drank, not every time. In fact, most of the times when I drank, I didn't do stupid stuff. But most of the time when I did stupid stuff, alcohol had something to do with it. Yeah. So let me just cut that out. And it'll make my life better. But I want to be an example to my children as best as I can. I'm going to fail. I'm a man. Yeah. But I need to own my mistakes, and I need to do the best I can to work on me. Here's another thing network marketing taught me, being in this environment. I can't change anybody, Shaq. I can't change you. You can't change me. I can't change my children. I can't change my girlfriend, my relationships. I can't change those people. I can't change anybody. There's only two things I have control over in this whole life that I have here, right? One is my attitude. I can choose my attitude. Now, I can't choose what happens to me because the same wind blows on us all, as Jim Rohn said. But I can choose my attitude. I can choose how I feel about it. I can be pissed off at the rain, or I can be happy with the rain. I can be pissed off at the sunshine. It's hot in Arizona. Or I can choose my attitude. And two, I can choose my behavior. Those are the only two choices I have. That's it. There's the only two things I can change, and it starts with me. I can only change me. And if I change me, then everything else around me changes.
Starts with yourself.
Starts with yourself. Have you ever heard that? It was a story about a man who had just come home from work, and he was tired. He'd been working all week. It was a Friday. Finally gets to relax. And his son, he's got like a little 4-year-old son. He's all fired up to see his dad, of course. And his dad just comes home, and his dad just wants to sit down and read the paper just for a little bit, just to unwind and get rid of the cares of the day before he interacts with his son. But his son won't let him go. And he's like, son, just a minute. And finally, out of frustration, he doesn't want to say anything negative to his son. So he sees a picture of the world in one of the sections of the newspaper. He tears it up, throws it on the ground. He says, son, if you put the world together, once you do that, I'll spend some time with you. Now he goes back to reading his paper and figures, hey man, I got a lot of time because, it's a world and he's 4. It'll take a while for him to figure this out. Within a few minutes, he's there tugging on his dad again. He's like, how did you do that, son? How did you put the world back together? And sure enough, it was all in the right place. He's like, how did you do that? And he said, well, Dad, on the other side of the world, there was a picture of a man. As I knew if I could get the man right, the world would take care of itself. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good illustration of what we need to do, right, as men, is get ourselves right. No, don't worry about the world. Don't worry about your friends. Don't worry about your family. Worry about yourself, figure yourself out. And that's the one thing you can do.
Yeah. And then in that point, it's like what Jordan Peterson says too, and a lot of these guys, they said, you want to be almost dangerous in the best way. Like, you want to be a guy who's capable of a lot, because then you're not reckless. You're not damaging other things around you. And I think that's true, because there's nothing more dangerous than someone who doesn't have control of themselves. Right. If you don't have self-control at some point, and you have power but not control, then that's
the same people trying to fix everyone else. It's like, fix yourself.
Yeah.
Get yourself right.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like, we should be capable of violence. We should be capable of actually, when the chips are down, being able to protect. That's our job as men. If you're a man, your job's to protect and provide.
Better be a warrior in the garden and
a garden and a warrior for a gardener and a warrior like that. That's not a good place to be.
Oh, yeah.
But if you know, like the most dangerous guys I know, I love being around them. I'm not scared of them at all, because I'm not going to mess with them. But I want those men around me.
Yeah.
You want and look, everyone wants those men around them, especially when things get tough. But they're usually the most gentle people ever. Yeah. They're not.
I tell everybody, because I do the martial arts thing, and the nicest, goofiest dude that in the gym, jumping around, doing cartwheels, messing with you, having a good time, never triggered, never upset. That's the guy you should be careful for. Because if he actually decided, he could wreck everybody in that gym. But the guy that's in there, first day, tough, I trained this, I did that. I mean, those are the first ones to fall. You see them on the ground, and they're just like, they can't even handle defeat,
Right.
And it's I was like that. I started in martial arts in 22, and then there's a kid named Nick, and he just gave me a 1-2 kick to the head, fell on the ground, and I was so upset, sat in the corner, pouting, punching the bag. And then, within a few weeks, it just opens your worldview. You're like, wow, I might have been a little entitled there, because then you realize, oh man, there's a lot to learn here. And it turns out this was I was like, Nick is such an asshole. Nick was the nicest guy on the team. Like, he was pretty much the nicest guy on the team. He's like the funniest dude. Like, he volunteers and stuff. And this is the dude that I was like, this is in my mind, I made him an enemy.
Right.
And I don't know if there's guys like that, they need an enemy to get better. Cool. But at some point, you got to be able to differentiate reality from what you need to motivate, or what your worldview is not the worldview. It's there's always 3 sides of the story: your side, their side, and the truth. So, but yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Josh, what would you say is your best advice for the audience, just people listening who are learning? I mean, people who are going to see this are, they might be demotivated right now. They might be focusing on struggling on with financials or life or anything that they're going through. from your opinion, I mean, you've done over 8 figures in commission, and I've seen you on stage. A lot of people, I'm sure, after you spoke, walked up to you and said, like, thank you so much. That's helped me a lot. I'm going through this. I'm going through that. What would you say to people now if you were on the stage now?
I think the most important thing is to know that you can do it. I don't care who you are, where you come from. I've seen someone like you, similar background, similar race, similar everything, succeed. So if they can succeed, know that you can too. Like, if the fact that you have the technology capable to listen to these words or to watch this right now, you have the ability, like, for sure, you have it. So that's number one. Then the second thing is pursue it. Like, it's like everyone's looking for the guru. They're looking for the person to lead them. And there's an old saying that I think really affected me, because I was looking for that too, especially not having a father growing up. I wanted that mentor. Why does that mentor just come and grab me? And, if so-and-so would just come and help me. If this person, again, that, if it's to be, it's up to me. But when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I'll say that again. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. What does that mean? To me, that means, let me get myself ready. Let me read the books. Let me show up. And if you have someone in your mind that's a mentor to you, that you want to mentor you, by calling them and asking them to, they're probably not, right? They're probably busy. The guys that you want to mentor, you're probably really busy, and they have 100 people calling them, or 1,000 people calling them, or who knows, right? You can't even get through their DMs. You probably don't even have their phone number. But how do you get someone to mentor you? Add value. This is the biggest thing I say to young people. Be more valuable than you are today. Add more value than you subtract, and you'll get people to want to help you. And I'll give you an example of how that works for me. And this is another thing network marketing gave me access to, because I have access to these mentors. I would show up at the events that they did, and I would volunteer. And I just would bring value. I would sign people in. I would set up the room. I'd set up the chairs. I would bring water. I'd carry bags. I would do whatever it takes. And the challenge I see a lot of times with younger people is they're like, and I don't want to say they're entitled, because you may not be entitled as you're listening to this, or you may not think that, but a lot of us are like, I just want someone to do it for me. And they don't want to go do it. It's like they want the power, but they're not willing to do the thing. Well, Watson, founder of IBM, said, do the thing and then you'll have the power. You got to do the thing. What's the thing? Well, it's different in a lot of different ways, but one thing it's always the same is, I'm going to bring more value. I'm going to be valuable. I'm going to come into this environment and I'm going to bring value. If you're in a gym situation, say you're showing up at a martial arts studio, I'm going to bring so much value to that instructor that he wants to mentor me. He wants to give me more. You're in a business environment, sign up for and I'm going to use an example. I don't want to use anyone's name. Picture that one guy's name, or that one person that you're like, this person, right? They're a podcaster. They're an entrepreneur. They're in real estate. They're in whatever. Volunteer at their company. Go help them. Get a job, and don't do it for the paycheck. Who cares about that? Go and be the most valuable human you can possibly be. The good thing, if you're young right now, you don't have a marriage, you don't have kids, you got the best right now. Don't worry about the car. Don't worry about the apartment. Don't worry about the house or the watch or that stuff's such a distraction. Just show up and be valuable to the person that has what you want, that lives the life you want to live. Because guess what? They have the secret, and they'll show it to you if you become indispensable to them. A lot of times, like, pay me more money and then I'll go work harder. You got it backwards, man. Those people are a dime a dozen. There's nothing separating you from the next jack-off that's saying the same thing. But you know what's going to make you stand out? You know what's going to make you indispensable? Is you go above and beyond, nonstop, constantly, without expectation, without your hand out, like a little tin cup beggar on the side of the corner, or on the street corner. You be that guy, your life will change radically in ways that you can't even comprehend. And maybe not even with that person that you're doing that to. I can tell you that is for sure the secret to success. That's what I did for me. I tried to be the most valuable human I could possibly be. And I attracted some of the best people into my life that taught me, helped me, gave me letters of introduction to other people that elevated my life. I'm preaching right now. I've made lots of mistakes. I'll probably make more, but I can tell you the one thing I'll do is I'll own my mistakes once I realize I made them. And my goal is to bring the most value I can to any environment I'm in.
Amazing. Well, that was good. Thank you so much, Joshua Denne. And you guys can find Josh, Instagram, YouTube, all under Joshua Denne, right?
Yep, Denne.
Denne, Joshua Denne. So kicking ass, taking names with Joshua Denne.
Kicking ass, taking names. Take a shot.